All right, so video is all about the different specific types of epithelial tissue in there, what their structure looks like, their location, and their function. First is simple squamous epithelium, and in these pictures you're going to see more than the actual tissue type that we're talking about, but the actual tissue type should be highlighted. Like you can see, it's in this bluish, aquish color. Simple squamous, like you can see, is one layer of flattened cells. It's a very thin barrier, and that thin barrier allows rapid movement of molecules across that surface. So we're going to find this in one example is in the lungs, in the alveoli, the surrounding what are called the alveoli in the lungs, to let oxygen and carbon dioxide be quickly exchanged. We also see this type of tissue lining the blood vessels called the endothelium, for the same reason, to allow quick exchange between oxygen and carbon dioxide. The next type is called simple cuboidal, and we can see it highlighted right here. Is one layer of cube-like cells, and the nucleus is centrally located. And notice that this opening right here, this lumen, okay, that's going to be important for epithelial tissue. So essentially, these cells can secrete a substance that goes into the lumen or absorb a substance into the cells that comes from the lumen. So this is an ideal structural component of glands. Glands is the word there. So this an example where you'll find this type of epithelium is in the thyroid gland and in the kidney tubules. The next type of tissue is called simple columnar. And here again, you see the picture, and this highlighted here is one of the column-like cells. There's more that go each direction. Single layer of column-like cells, and they are ideal for secretory or absorbing functions. They're the ideal. And there's two different varieties of simple columnar. They can either be non-ciliated, meaning at the ends of the cells, no cilia. So the digestive tract is actually an example of that. Or the tops of the cells can have cilia. An example of where you'll find ciliated simple columnar is in the uterine tubes. The uterine tubes have cilia that move the egg to the uterus. The next type is called pseudostratified. And highlighted in this picture is actually the cilia. So we're talking about from this little wavy line up is the pseudostratified. Pseudo means fake, so it looks like it's stratified, although it's not. All of the cells are in direct contact with this line down here called the basement membrane. And the nuclei are scattered at different distances. So like here you can see this nucleus is up here, this nucleus is down there. And just like stratified, pseudostratified can either be ciliated, like you see in this example, or non-ciliated. An example where you'll find pseudostratified, ciliated columnar epithelium would be in the respiratory tract to move the mucus. Non-ciliated would be in the male urethra. The next type is stratified squamous, and two pictures, because essentially two different types, but both of them have this in common, this wavy line. That's the basement membrane, okay, that waves, and the dark purple pink above that line is the stratified squamous. So it's called stratified, multiple layers of cells, squamous named for the top layer of cells. So the apical cells or top level cells are squamous or flattened in shape. The purpose of this type of tissue is it's going to be very protective against abrasion or friction. So areas of the body that comes in contact with substances a lot. Because what happens is that bottom layer, these basal layer, are continuously made and pushed up to the top. Okay. The stratified squamous can either be keratinized, like this one is a picture of keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, like in the skin. Essentially, this entire layer is keratin or full of a protein that makes that skin tough and protective and waterproof. Or it can exist in the non-keratinized form like you see down here. An example that you should find tissue that's non-keratinized in the vagina and in the esophagus. Esophagus is the blank there. An esophagus is the tube. When you swallow, it carries water or food down to your stomach passageway. The next type is stratified cuboidal. Many layers of cube-like cells. Highlighted here is one of those cells, so it's actually this entire area right here. You can say here's a nuclei, there's a nuclei, there's a nuclei, there's a nuclei. So 2 layers of nuclei that you can see. It's going to form tubes, coverings. It's involved in secretion, protection. Where we're going to find it, the best example is it's sweat glands. These cuboidal cells release sweat into a lumen, or the outside of an area. The next type of epithelial tissue is stratified columnar, very, very rare. Here is the whole thing highlighted. One on nuclei, another. So 2, in this case, this looks like 2 layers of columnar cells. It protects and secretes also. And where we find it, the salivary glands specifically. Lastly here, the transitional epithelium, which it's in the dark purple-pink area above. It can change shape depending on the size of that organ. So in a relaxed state, the cells are cuboidal. In a stretched state, the apical cells, or the top cells, are stretched or flattened, so squamous. And an example where you can find transitional epithelium is the bladder, and that is the end of the specific types of epithelium.